Thanks and welcome to the 6:15. I'm Kejang Henry at Simbe. We begin with our top stories. Hot tears brooding down the cheeks of Senate members following the departure of one of theirs. His Royal Majesty Info Tabetande Ndiepso died this morning after an illness. The Senate is mourning just a few weeks after the departure of the former Senate President, Nyat Njifenji Maxwell. And Gina Marie crackdown has weeded out some unholy elements in parts of Cameroon, as we are going to get from the news. And Union of Douala, the famous club, mythical, is on a dire stretch and now becomes a shadow of itself. Top stories.
Canal International.
Thanks and welcome. Hook up with us on our respective platforms on Canal International. We begin with this very sad note. At the Senate, Ndiepso Tabetando is no more. One of the vice presidents of the upper house of parliament died this morning. His death has just come to inflict more wounds on previous ones that occurred, that especially of the president of the Senate, whose mortal remains is still lying in the mortuary. For Tabetando has departed the scene, and Anglophones are saying it's one of the political maverick of the southwest and northwest regions of the country. Beatrice Ngamo recounts.
Death has again struck Cameroon's upper house of parliament, the Senate. Senator Mfo Tabetando has passed on, leaving a void both and within his community of origin. Appointed senator in 2013, the President Paul Biya during the establishment of Cameroon's very first Senate, he was among the pioneer figures to sit in the institution. Within the upper house of parliament, he rose through the ranks, serving as head of the CPGM parliamentary group, later as vice president of the Senate, a strategic position that gave him considerable influence in institutional affairs. A key figure of Cameroon's People's Democratic Movement and member of the Central Committee, he held several responsibilities, including acting head of the party's regional delegation in the Southwest. A loyal supporter of President Paul Biya, he consistently mobilized his base in favor of the party while advocating for infrastructure development in his region. The tarring of roads in Manu division. In a context marked by the Anglophone crisis, he emerged as an influential voice, striking to balance political loyalty with local realities. A father always ready to listen and provide advice when necessary.
Make the command at the paper so that make peace be start from Manu and spread the whole of Cameroon. Because Manu name now. Say that when you be the leader, say the commander, the people doesn't want to be head of state, the commander.
Born on October 29, 1950, in Bachontai, Manu division of the Southwest region, he led a distinctive career at the crossroads of law, tradition, and politics. A lawyer by profession, he established his law firm in Douala as early as 1975, becoming a respected figure in legal circles. Beyond his legal career, he also embodied a customary legacy. In 1977, he was enthroned as the supreme ruler of Bachontai Kingdom, assuming the title Mfo, guardian of traditions and a central authority within his community. A man of networks and commitment. On the social and religious front, his contributions were widely recognized, particularly in the Manu division, where he supported the Catholic Church through concrete initiatives such as the construction of classrooms and assistance to religious institutions, efforts that earned him a papal blessing. Today, a page has turned, that of a man who was once a senator, jurist, traditional leader, strategist, whose journey spans the corridor of powers and the realities on the ground.
Well, thanks very much, Beatrice Ngamo. May the soul of His Royal Majesty for Tabitando rest with the Lord. And let's move up to the east region of the country, where the National Gendarmerie has launched an intensive crackdown on, in fact, an operation that actually is out to deploy officers to crack down on specialized or on insecurity. But then the Maureen is reporting that the operation dubbed Tentacles is more than just what should be done to weed out unethical elements of the east region of the country with the seizure of weapons and hard drugs.
Rising insecurity and repeated acts of banditry have left residents of Batare, Oya in fear, with many unable to sleep peacefully. In response to this growing concern, the Gendarmerie has intensified operations to restore order and reassure the population. On board pickup trucks, elements of the Beto Gendarmerie Company, under the command of the company commander, carried out a sweeping operation across the villages of Buli, Marouare, and Tapari in the Batare Oya subdivision. Prior to the field deployment, clear instructions were given to the officers to ensure discipline and effectiveness during the mission.
Il s'agit d'un groupe de malfaiteurs qui opèrent à l'aide de fusils de calibre 12 et de flèches empoisonnées.
During 2 days of intensive operations as part of the Operation Tentacle, about 50 suspected individuals were arrested. The forces also seized 20 local inmates, 12 gauge firearms, several sharp weapons, and around 20 motorcycles lacking proper documentation.
Nous avons saisi une vingtaine d'armes de calibre 12, plusieurs armes blanches.
Cette opération tentacule devra davantage se multiplier dans la zone afin d'éradiquer tous les fléaux.
For the local population, the operation comes as a relief, as it had been living in constant fear due to activities of armed criminals who terrorized the area.
Tous nos capteurs sont en éveil pour nous renseigner en temps réel, afin que nous puissions, dans les jours à venir, mettre ce groupe hors d'état de nuit.
With such regular raids, the Gendarmerie remains committed to curbing insecurity in the East region. Authorities are also calling on residents to collaborate closely with security forces to ensure lasting peace and safety.
Thanks very much, Maureen D. And we move over to Yaoundé, where youths in Cameroon are at the heart of Africa's transformation. In fact, in Yaoundé, they had a conference, and Ate Bonaventure is saying that the youths are more now focused on reshaping the landscape or the economic landscape of the country for better opportunities. Ate Bonaventure.
Youth leadership is increasingly seen as a vital force in fostering sustainable development across Africa. At this debate conference organized by the Pondi Foundation, young people, civil society actors and development partners came together to explore the role of young people in transforming the continent.
The Pondi Foundation is henceforth out and is willing to work, especially with the youth that wants to learn more about themselves, their culture, their civilization, and to see what inside, in those years, can be used to enhance their future.
Participants examine practical solutions to challenges such as unemployment, governance, and social inclusion.
What the Pondi Foundation is trying to bring in is to tell the young people that they are responsible of the Africa in 50 years.
Africa is filled with a lot of potential, and youth are the driving force. And for so long, the dynamics of Africa has been influenced by external forces, and I think it's really time that Africa takes back the horn and pushes itself to greatness.
With strong calls for innovation, entrepreneurship, and digital empowerment, the conference underscored the urgency of investing in young people. An empowered and engaged youth population remains key to Africa's inclusive and sustainable development.
Thanks very much, Ate Bonaventure. And of course, we continue in that line where a new digital platform is putting Cameroonian youth at the forefront of innovation, transforming how everyday's life or services must be delivered. In fact, this is the development of great app scientists who actually presented the new app as services providers across the country. This will help them link as a hub for business. Let's get details in the report. A new digital platform is changing how Cameroonians access services while highlighting local youth innovation. Quick service developed by Gang Tech Consulting connect users with verified service providers in sectors like home services, logistics, and personal care.
We want to empower every Cameroonian, everybody who is skilled has to be empowered through this application. Whether you are in the village, you are in the city, this app is going to empower.
In a context where 80% of economic activity is informal, many talented individuals struggle to find work. Quick Service digitizes service delivery, builds trust, and allows people to get hired and paid securely through their phones.
When we were studying the market on how to develop the app, we saw that there was a lot of unemployment in Cameroon. So we wanted to create a marketplace where we could bring providers and clients.
For Nangwafo Ford, the Paramount Fund of Mancon praised the platform for youth employment.
Cameroon economy is being digitalized and is going inclusive, getting financial inclusion for each and everyone. So it's something that the journalists, as you are, you have to spread it so that people can get on board, and in the near future it will have to solve a lot of problems. And the much talked about peace that the Pope still came here and emphasized. People will have to smile in the streets based on the exposure of their ability through this platform.
Honorable Gala Gerard, Member of Parliament, called for Quick Service a common visual marketplace and aligning with Cameroon's 2030 digital economic strategy.
It is important that we get this known all over Cameroon. We get the youth who have very good skills but don't know how to get their skills to those who are in need of them.
By easing access to services, this platform positions Cameroon as a hub for innovation and demonstrates that youth can create opportunities at home. And Cameroonian parents are on a threshold or on an ideal for following what was known as a circular that was sent by the Minister of Secondary Education, Alova Lyunga. But then this actually set confusion as many parents could not decipher whether or not it was for primary or secondary school students. And as schools opened their doors yesterday, there is still this confusion that looms as why there is no combined or joint communique on school resumptions. Details with Arte Bonaventure.
This is Priska, a second student assisting her mother in the kitchen. With an extra week off school, secondary school students in Yaoundé are adjusting their routines to make the most of the unexpected prolongation.
Pendant une semaine de plus, j'aide ma maman à faire des bâtons, je m'occupe de mes petits frères et de ma grande sœur, à faire ses tâches ménagères comme laver les assiettes, balayer la maison, préparer.
In several neighborhoods, some learners are assisting their parents with household chores, contributing to daily life. Others have turned to small-scale activities, engaging petit trading to support their needs during the extra days. Despite the distractions, the learners say they are mindful of academic demands, carving out time each day to revise their lessons for the new and decisive term.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Arte Bonaventure. And Chinese language is actually gaining grounds in Cameroon. But this is not just a diplomatic move. It goes far beyond that. And shockingly enough, at the Chinese market or Chinatown in Douala, the Chinese language is extremely spoken by many Cameroonians, as they are the middle way between the buyers and the sellers. Cynthia Lache went down to Chinatown to find out how the Chinese language is used for business.
Rachel has learned the Chinese language through daily interactions with her Chinese bosses at the Douche Municipal Market in Douala. What began as simple exchanges has gradually turned into a practical business skill. I don't speak normally Chinese, but when they say something, I try to imagine that's how, thanks to them, I've learned the language right here. But the Chinese language still poses a challenge for many traders. China is one of Cameroon's largest trade partners, and among wholesale buyers here, communication remains a hurdle.
We don't speak Chinese, but we try to know just the basic of Chinese. Then later we can continue in French or English. At least he knows that you have tried to communicate with him in his language, and with that he's happy.
However, traders say technology like translation apps is helping to bridge the gap and improve business transactions.
They have an application, just like Google Translator, which they generally use to converse with. You can speak in English, it translates to the Chinese, and you speak in Chinese, it translates in English for you to also understand.
I often meet Chinese that have interpreters. With that, it goes easily. We are also confronted with Chinese that do not speak French, like you and I, so we adapt. Despite the challenges, some wholesalers say learning Chinese can be a major advantage when dealing with Chinese partners in Cameroon.
He knows that you are vested in his culture, you have interest in his culture and his language.
On the other hand, Chinese business owners also admit they struggle with local languages in Cameroon, but say mutual effort is key to strengthening trade relations. If a Cameroonian is able to speak Chinese, we are happy, and it's easier to make some discounts sometimes. We are also trying to learn French and English. Observed every April 20, United Nations Chinese language comes at a time when China's presence in African markets continues to expand. In Cameroon, recent figures from the National Institute of Statistics show trade with China surpassing 1,600 billion, underscoring the growing role of language in facilitating business.
Thanks very much, thanks Lati for that report. And we move over to sports, where it is a debacle for Union Sportive of Douala, one of Cameroon's most emblematic football clubs, but it is drowning. What is behind this drowning situation of Union Sportive of Douala, like just many other clubs that have stood
Union de Douala is enduring a difficult spell in the domestic championship, sitting 7th in the standings with only 9 points so far this season.
Il est inadmissible que nous soyons encore en vie et que l'Union se trouve dans des situations pareilles.
The club has struggled to find consistency and rhythm since the campaign began. I decided to come to the field because of the issue at hand. Since the championship began, I didn't come this way. When I was told there are some issues with the club, my friends and I decided to come back, look into it. Concerned by the team's poor run of form, former players stepped in to offer their support. On April 21, a delegation of veterans visited the squad, where they met with current players and delivered words of encouragement. The presence of our seniors is like a source of motivation for us, because what they have done today have given us a positive energy.
Et je crois qu'ils ont écouté leurs aînés, ils ont écouté leurs parents, et ils vont réussir à faire ce qu'il faut demain.
The visit comes at a critical moment for the club as they prepare for an important fixture that could shape the direction of their season. Union de Douala will clash with Sable de Batier come Wednesday, April 22 at the Japoma Annex Stadium.
We just wish Union Douala the best in its career. Of course, that it's one of the mythical clubs that we have in the country, just like PWD of Bamenda and PW of Kumba. That draws the curtain for this edition of the 615. I've been Kejang Henry Assembly. We thank you for being there with us. Lee Piju is coming up with the debrief. They'll actually take goodbye.